Hello, everyone. Good evening. How are we doing? Hope all is well. Let me just see. Uh, fine. I think we're good. Yeah, I think everything's fine. Just making sure now everything is working. What is this? I think that's fine. Yeah, that's fine too. Um, I know we are a few minutes early. We're about 4 minutes early, which is not bad. Um, let me see. We're on 180, which would be episode 180. I think that's just a notification now. So it seems like it's on my side today, YouTube. Um, So a bit to talk about, yeah, a bit to talk about. Not overly too much, but a good bit at the same time. Hello, Kieran. How are we doing? Long time no see. Hello, Sean. How are things? He's got your notifications, I see. Because how I know when notifications go out, it goes out of my tablet. It tells me that I'm live. Also, the beginning of the live stream and stuff, we have a new picture, obviously, the cover of the live stream, when it's scheduled, etc. So there's new that. So I was like to myself, that's new. I'm used to seeing the old cover. So I was surprised when I seen that this morning. Hello, James. How are we keeping? How are we doing this Saturday? I hope we are well. Hope all is good. Hope you have a good Saturday. Good to see you. Just notice I'm matching. I'm matching here. I have the blue and white hat and the blue and white top. But that wasn't the sign. I just noticed that there now when I was looking into the camera. So there we go. We're now carbon colours today. Or should we say finished colours? Funny enough, the carbon colours are the same as the finished colours. Coincidence? I think not. It's all a coincidence, as I say. You wouldn't what? Which? Oh, yeah, I know this would be on at the moment. Is that what you're talking about? You're talking about my top. No, this is not a football top. This is just an only Adidas top. I do have carbon tops, but I never wear them. Fighting colours. But no, yeah, like I was going to get a new Cavan jersey, but they're dear. Like they are dear, the Cavan jerseys and stuff. They're nearly €60 for one, just a basic one. Like they're dear enough. Like the GA stuff ones are good, dear enough, but the GA just grab all and grab everything. Pretty much that's the GA for you. But yeah. In fairness, Ireland's doing well in the football. Like people are still on about Ireland. A good friend Parrot scoring the goal. Like some of them are still drinking in the pubs because of that. That's why. Like you think they won the fucking cup. Like they're all gone mad. They're taking out credit union loans, etc. They've all gone ballistic over it. And it's supposed to right because the Irish football team couldn't beat eggs. And all of a sudden they're doing something now. Is it? Yeah. Well, in Cavan was 60 or something like that. Yeah, nearly 70, something like that. Which is insane too for just the job, like just the top, like this kind of thing. Not even the jump. I've seen jumpers there and stuff. Jumpers will be dearer than tops. But it is insane. I'm sure you would agree, Sean. It's a bit overkill, But the GEA, the good for nothing. The organisation itself is just good for nothing. They wouldn't give anybody anything. Let's put it. At least with the Irish football team, in fairness, they're doing stuff for their fans, etc., etc. The music's on tonight too, just to say. So it's been an interesting few days too, for me personally. I get into a lot of stuff, but there's a lot to be said. So I went to Ballyconnor too this morning. Actually, yeah, I put it up in the community post. I was in Ballyconnor this morning. I went into a cafe. I haven't been in this cafe in about 2 years. It's 2 years. I usually go in every time in Ballyconnor. So it's been 2 years since I was in Ballyconnor last. And I went into this cafe. And the person knows me because I used to go in all the time when I was in Ballyconnor, that area. And the first thing he said to me, "You met the former Finnish Prime Minister." I hadn't even nearly sat down. He came up and said, "Oh, you didn't say hello." He said, "Oh, you met the former Finnish Prime Minister." So it's up in the local media. I don't know if you've noticed that, but it's in the local media now about it. So yeah, very high up, and it's in some WhatsApp groups. Like it's actually in more WhatsApp groups than it was before. Like I've seen some WhatsApp groups and stuff is in it. It's in the community one here. I don't know who put it in, but somebody put it into this community one that I'm in down here. So it's pretty much everywhere. along with the accusation made in one of the WhatsApp groups that I'm being paid by Saddam. So that accusation's going on. Hello, everyone. Good evening. How are we keeping? Hope we're having a good Saturday. It's a terror to believe it's a week ago nearly since your birthday, last Sunday. It's insane to think how time flies. That only feels like it was yesterday. It's crazy to think that's a week nearly. But it's quite insane because quite literally everywhere I go now, it's just Santa Mountain, this Santa Mountain, that. Like quite literally everywhere I go, like literally everybody I'm talking to, literally mentions Santa Mountain. Even some of the people I was talking to saying, "Oh yeah, everybody's talking about it." That's what one of them literally said. I was like, "How did you find out that they meet Santa Mountain?" Oh, everybody's talking about it. Yeah, you're right. Very good, good enough. Like a lot of people are shocked. Like a lot of people didn't believe it until they seen it in the local media. Then they were like, "This actually happened." Like some people thought it was like photoshopped and stuff like that, but it actually happened. So a lot of them are gobsmacked. No, we're not going. We're not going there. We don't have to go there. We're not going to go there. But yeah, so basically, I'm still listening to that. It's 3 weeks nearly on. I'm still listening. Like I'm never. I don't think people are ever going to give me a break. But it was still here. And I'm staying going to be still like this for the next 700 years. Which is a good complaint. Go where? Which? What? Come again? Sorry. Go where? Which? Go where? Which? Sorry. Sorry, James. I probably said something I couldn't remember what I said. No, that's what they call Thomas Sheridan. Yeah, Thomas Sheridan. I don't think that's no. I don't think it is. No, I think it's Thomas Sheridan. It was Captain Thomas Sheridan. He died in a landmine explosion. I think near Badnia. But there's three names on it. There's three names on, but the person that's replicated on the statue itself is Thomas Sheridan. I don't know about the other two. You could be right about the other two. I can't remember the two. There's two other names on it. I can't remember. It probably is Andy O'Sullivan. I've heard of him before, yeah. But I think that it's on the statue, like it's not depicting him on the statue, but I think his name is there. And then there's another name. Don't quote me on the two other names. It's been a good while since I looked at it. But yeah, Thomas Sheridan is one. So I presume, yeah, it's probably Andy O'Sullivan. That's the other one. What would be the other one? I can't remember. It's hard. Like I go by it nearly every day, and you forget it. You forget it because you go by it so much. I never really stopped to look at it in a long time. It's been a long time to look at. Hello, Saoirse. How are you doing? Good evening. How are we keeping? Hope we're having a good Saturday. But yeah, so Thomas Sheridan. We have a look if I'm ever like live or something in the town. We can have a look and see. It's not well looked after, the statue, and it should be probably looked after better. Because come to think of it, I've never seen literally anybody ever clean in a long, long time. But yeah. So a bit to talk about, I suppose, in regard to some stuff. Now, first of all, I suppose we talk about the United States at the moment. And to do with Marjorie, I know a lot of people talking online about it. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Congresswoman from South Carolina, isn't South Carolina, North Carolina, one of them. She was in the Republican Party, etc. I suppose only for her. They wouldn't in the House of Representatives and the Senate in the United States. We still don't have the Epstein files, like the files itself. It still take time before we probably get that. But she pretty much single-handedly got them to release it, like by embarrassing Donald Trump and the Republican Party. And now she has left the Republican Party. Pretty much, I do think she was forced out of it. Because particularly she was saying stuff about Israel and America first. And, when you're a United States Congressperson or you're from the United States, the one thing you can't question, you can criticize the founding fathers of the United States. You can criticize every other country in the world. But when you criticize a certain country in the Middle East and say that we shouldn't be giving them any money, that's when you get the boot. You get the boot. But I want to just say she stood by her values and fairness. I didn't agree on everything, but I just want to say that it's a good thing to see that from a politician. They're not worried about the political party status. They're worried about the truth getting out, and I think that's very admirable. We could do with something like that here with our politicians. That's somebody that has values, that actually wants to stand with the truth, etc., not by the political parties. Take for example, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael. A lot of them know that the government are doing wrong. Take for example, um, you know, but they won't say anything. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, none of them. There's backbenchers from Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael can see what's happening in Ireland, take for example, in terms of immigration, in terms of other stuff, and they won't say anything. They're too afraid to say anything. And it's very admirable that you have people that are willing to stand up from the crowd. And it's not easy to stand up from the crowd to speak out, etc. And particularly when it's such a thing like Epstein, who was pretty much in bed with a lot of high up officials, people that even in our country too, leadership, etc. It's something the truth has to come out. The survivors deserve justice. That's the way I see it. Just wanted to say that at the beginning, because it is important that you have politicians that are not worried about the political status, their paycheck, and worried about the truth, more worried about the truth coming out and prevailing. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters in society. The truth gets out there. And the people have a right to know, particularly in Jeffrey Epstein. Same as the Irish people have a right to know in terms of Jeffrey Epstein, in terms of his private plane coming to Ireland. There's no record of it. It happened. It did come here, but the records mysteriously have disappeared. So we can never tell how long he was here, who was on his plane, etc. All them records have disappeared. There isn't a peep out of the Irish media about it. You think they will be saying, what happened here, you will be buying a pint in Helsinki. Don't mention any papers. Yeah, you wouldn't want to. You'd be bankrupt if you were. Hello, Ben. Good evening. How are we keeping? No, I don't think she did. Like Nick Fergus. Now, I don't agree with Nick Fergus on everything. He's right in some stuff. Like in fairness, he is. But in a lot of stuff he said, I don't agree with. I disagree with him immensely. Particularly in terms of women, etc. What he said about women in the past. I despise them few comments that he's made about that, because they're just utterly disgusting. Like, to say such a thing, he's entitled to his opinion, but I do think that's pushing the lines a good bit. But yeah, a lot of conservatives now, like, it's supposed to be the thing about Donald Trump and the Republican Party. They said America first, but they never, they say we're not going to give any money to Ukraine, take for example. But we're going to give it to Israel. You're supposed to be America first, putting Americans first. And Marjorie, if you watched the video from last time, Marjorie Taylor Greene, take for example, she was like, you're only Americans. People like, even take for example, in the Irish situation, the only working class person that's working a 9 to 5 paying their bills, they're no better off. Take for example, the majority of people in America are not really better off with Donald Trump at the moment than Joe Biden. Like, the only person, the only working Joe can afford to buy a house. So get somewhere in life, if that makes any sense. It's all right for the 1% people on Wall Street. And she's right about saying, like, you could put the man on the moon as the president, and it still wouldn't change. And the only Joe will never feel any change, and she's right in saying that. It's the same with Ireland here. We could probably put Sinn Féin could be in government in the morning here. Nothing would change. I don't know what would be worse than these crowd, but I still wouldn't trust them to run a bicycle shed, let alone anything else. So it doesn't matter. I don't think if we put Sinn Féin, if we put the Labour Party, and we put anybody in this country, I don't think it would change, because the whole system is wrong, and the whole system is against the common man and the common woman nowadays. It's against the only people. It's benefiting the 1% of society, the people on Wall Street, etc., etc. And she's right in saying that, and I felt that over the years too, that regardless of who you vote for, you get the same anyway. Let's put it that way. So she's right in that, and in fairness, and I always respect somebody from standing up, particularly when you're in a political party. That's why I never joined the political party, because you're not allowed to say these things. You're not allowed to say, I don't agree with this and I don't agree with that, etc. If that makes sense. She's good. I don't know about the grift, because she's literally ruined her career by going out and doing it. Like, it takes a lot of courage, first of all. Like, she was literally being, like you've seen in Donald Trump, literally been bombasted by Donald Trump just because she said the Epstein file should be released. The people deserve truth. The promises were made. Maybe she is a grifter to a certain extent, but what she did here, I don't think was a great for anything. I don't think it was for fame or anything. I think she just wanted the truth. And she went against the person that she supported for a long time, Donald Trump, etc. I could be wrong, but she did go against the person that she supported that literally helped him get elected. Um, so and particularly the file attacks, like he's coming out with just everything, Donald Trump about it. But I do have respect for a person that stands by what they did, because it wasn't easy to stand out from your crowd and speak up and stuff. I know this has nothing really to do with Ireland or stuff, but I'm just briefly saying about it because it's a big thing. Hello, Gordon. Sorry, but I could be wrong about it. But she did do the right thing here. Whatever about anything else she ever done, she did do the right thing here. I think everybody can realize that. We just have to have the Epstein files now. She might, but I don't know. I don't know because see, you have to remember the Israeli lobby is very upset at the moment with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and unless you go over to Israel and go to a certain wall, you're not going to get to the presidency of the United States. Let's put it that way. That's just saying the straight up truth. And not even that too. You question giving money to Israel and stuff like that. You're never going to get anywhere by doing that. Let's put that in America. Like Donald Trump can never criticize Israel or never say we're not going to give any more money to Israel. You can't do that. So that's what I'm saying. She hasn't hope of ever getting into the presidency because it's just that strong lobby from Israel in the United States. You're never going to get there, particularly when you said such things like that. If you get what I'm saying, do you see what I'm saying? But yeah. But we see what happens. I don't know. Maybe she will. But I don't think so. I think everything would be against the other one. Well, we're not going to go there, but but anyway, back to Ireland. Irish people, we should probably be talking about Ireland instead of the United States. Yeah, like some things he said, right, don't get me wrong. But a lot of the stuff he does say too, it's very vile. It is very vile. Particularly you get around women, what he said about women. I don't agree with that, to be totally honest. In no circumstances, but he's right in some stuff, but in a lot of stuff he is wrong too. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. I know some people disagree with me, but I suppose I'm a different sort than a lot of people. If people get what I'm saying, I wouldn't say that I'm listening to him that much, but you see stuff online and stuff about it. But good evening, sorry, Greenface. I meant to say hello. But anyway, back to Ireland. Irish people, we should probably be done with Ireland. So how are we all doing? Any fun before I get started talk about something else for the next 7 hours? Where am I? Sorry, I'm just trying to find where I am. Always a good way to start, trying to find where you are. I don't go. Well, it could be right, yeah. Like I can't say that I'm literally watching everything in US politics, so I don't know much about it. I've often heard stuff from Marjorie Taylor Greene, what she said, etc. But I never specifically just be watching what she's doing every 10 seconds, if that makes sense. But only going by what I've seen like the last few hours, if that makes sense. And the last few days, because I was paying attention to it. Beforehand, I was kind of every once in a while you hear about it. Do you get what I'm saying, Ben? So the Taoiseach is off in South Africa. He's off for the summit in Johannesburg in South Africa on a nice holiday, may I say, on the taxpayers' expense, just to say. So it's great. You can go off on the holiday. Isn't it lovely? But I want to just talk about a case that's in the Irish media at the moment. Just give me a second. Just so I have all the information, because it's hard to remember literally everything. There was a case in, I think it was in Dublin, yeah. This is yesterday. Judge Mountain Nolan, our good friend Judge Mountain Nolan, he's no good. He should be probably in prison himself. So this was to do with a woman that was attacked about a few years ago. She had a broken nose, etc., etc. It was this person that attacked her, like broke her nose, really done severe stuff, severe damage to this woman. has basically pretty much has been let off. Um, he has 52 previous convictions, just to say, like insane amount of previous convictions. And Judge Mountain Nolan gave him 2 years and 9 months. Like literally broke the woman's nose and viciously assaulted her. And he has 52 convictions, and the judge said his 2 years and 5 months. Like what? Like this woman was brutally assaulted by this man. Broke her nose and other vicious things he done. Like where is the justice in that? Like what is wrong with Judge Mountain Nolan? First of all, because I never got an answer to that. What is wrong with him? Like he's letting off pedophiles left, right, and centre. Like there's something feels seriously wrong with this man. Like he probably should be looked into and investigated himself, because there's something seriously wrong with him. There's something seriously wrong because he's just letting people off left, right, and centre. Then if you didn't pay your TV license, he put you to prison for the rest of your life. Like it's evil statistic stuff these judges are doing because it doesn't fit the crime. Like sending someone like literally viciously assaulted the person, and here's 2 years and 5 months. There you go. Sickening stuff that these judges do these kind of things. And it's not the Gaudi I blame, it's the judges, because the judges at the end of the day let them off with it. It's a disgrace. It is a disgrace. Is Gordon here? He is, yeah. Yes, he is there. Yeah, he is there. But no, Judge Mountain Nolan, I have to say, probably the worst judge in the country. Like, there's no doubt about it. Because he's just letting everybody off with it. Like every crime anybody does, apart from the TV license, he's letting them off with it. Like these are serious crimes that's going up to him, and he's letting them off with it. Like, it's disgusting stuff. It really is. The victim has to go to court and explain what happened to the victim impact statement, and say, I was viciously assaulted by this man. And then the judge says, I don't care. Here's 2 years. You come out in 2 years' time and do it again. Especially because, again, he has 52 previous convictions. I can't get that in my head around that. Like 52 is an awful lot. Why did I call you? I know Gordon was saying that, so I thought he was looking for you. Apologies. So I misread that. I just happened to click back and just seen it. But yeah, it's quite insane stuff. Jeez, the green face is breaking up. But yeah, let me see. I'm just trying to find the other thing that what other talk about. What the fuck am I doing? Sorry. See, old age nowadays. Let me see. Where am I? Who am I? What am I? Who am I? What am I? So, in terms of the by-election that's happening in Dublin, Dublin Central, sorry, it does look like the Hutch might go for Jerry the Hutch. It does look like he's going to go for it. I don't know. I think Malcolm Stevenson said he could go for it too. I think he's confirmed that he's going to go for it. So I don't know about anybody else, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens, Dale. Because it's going to be a lot of people putting their name forward for the Dublin Central constituency. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be an interesting thing because if the Hutch goes for it, he probably will win. He probably will win. Like, I'm just saying it straight, because people feel so disenfranchised with the state that they would literally just vote the most anti-state person they can get, just to despite the government. But we see what happens. Yeah, he's still there. Yeah, Sean Flem is still there. Yeah, in the door. The book's been hot. Yeah, well, in fairness, he was at his school yesterday, I think it was. And somebody rang on God to Sheena O'Connell. And of course, the Gaudi being the Gaudi, they took about 4 hours or so. So by the time the Gauds got there, he was long gone, because it's the Gaudi. It's the same in Cavan. People's houses have been broken into and then robbed. And the wing the Gaudi, it takes 5 hours or 6 hours for them to bother to come out to deal with it. They just don't want to deal with it. That's the problem with a lot of the Gaudi. They just couldn't be bothered to deal with it. No, it hasn't been located yet, as far as I know. But yeah. Balbelele. Belele. Let me see. So I don't know, but I presume they get him at some stage. Um, as I said in my community post earlier on, like the first beginning of Ela Buck's story, it was stupid that it came to this point. Um, because nobody should be ever forced to say, identify somebody as they, them, or he, him, or whatever. Especially if you work for the government, or and it's all right if your parents, if you want your parents to do it. But particularly as a civil servant myself, you know, you're not paid to be, somebody to tell you I want you to use the him, he pronouns, or etc. You deal with your civil stuff, and you're there to serve the people. You're not there to be a pronouns police. You're there to do a job. Like as a teacher, you're there to teach. You're not there to be a pronouns teacher. You know, that's the way I see it, and particularly when it's a Church of Ireland school or a Catholic school. But it's your pretty much if you want to do it, it's your own business. It's you train your friends or your family. But I don't think going out and saying that this person must be called he, him, or she, her, and saying that this teacher must do this, etc. It's a whole stupid thing in the first place that this ever was. That the principal actually even went to him to say it. Now, don't get me wrong, it's the court order he's breaking. I'm not saying it's to do with transgenderism, but you could argue the whole issue started over it. Yeah, that's insane. Where did you get that? I have it a long time. But it's funny. I didn't even like this is the Cavan colours too here, but I didn't think about that. But it was only do it live. But yeah, it's only a meme kind of hat. So it's not. I'm not affiliated with Donald Trump or anything. Not a hope with that. Um, but yeah, but I do think he's made his point. Like in fairness, like I will say this, and this is something, but he has made his point. Like I do in my own from making his point, like making his case. Like he went to prison before for 500 days or so. He's made his case. He stood outside the school over them years and stuff, and made his case. And I do think he's made his point. But this is the thing: the state is not going to back down because the state's not going to give up. They're not going to. They're not going to do it. They're not going to give his job back. There's no hope of that. It's just a simple fact. They won't do it. They've literally entrenched themselves, the state, and they're not willing to back down. Um, so he's fighting a battle that's already lost. If that makes any sense, because he's already made his point. He showed his principle, and I don't think sending him back to prison, take for example, is worth any damn because he's going to be there for another 500 days, and then they'll have to release him at some point, and then he's going to do the same thing again. So it's just pretty much the cycle just keeps repeating. So pretty much to this stage, he should just give, like as I said in the community post earlier on, like in America, he get a job as a teacher in a Catholic school. Over there, they get probably 100,000 a year, 200,000 a year as a Catholic teacher in the United States in the Catholic conservative school, like a really Catholic conservative school. They would love to have somebody like that as a teacher. But as unfortunately, would have to probably leave out because I do think that the Department of Education would not allow him to teach in any school, regardless, even if they moved him to another school down the country. They still wouldn't. I don't think they would give him like the license and stuff to teach, even though he's fully qualified, etc. But I do think the whole cause of this, like, I don't think anybody should be forced to say, you must call this person they, them. I know personally, as a civil servant and stuff, I don't get paid to, to say to people, you're him, he, or she, her, etc. That's my job is to do the work, to clean, to make sure the streets is clean and stuff like that. That's my job. That's what the average taxpayer pays me to do. If that makes any sense, and especially in schools, you're there to teach the children. You're not there to use pronouns. You're there to just make sure the children learn history or learn German or whatever it may be. But that's what I'm saying. No, in the United States, like in Ireland, there's not. Years ago, it was more conservative schools. But the school that he was at, Hellebuck, I don't know how much you know about it, Gordon, but it's a long story. But it is a Church of Ireland school, like it's a Protestant school. It's supposed to have Christians. It is run by the church. It's run by the Church of Ireland. But I think the whole concept is too that children shouldn't be saying in school, the principals shouldn't be saying to teachers, you must use the they, them pronoun, etc. Or call a boy a girl, because it is a school. You're there to learn. You're not there to be told, use pronouns, use this, gender identity, etc., etc. Yeah, the state could. They could give him like they could maybe get like, but this is the thing, they're not going to do it. Like, even take for example, if he was going to go to a school in Cavan, for argument's sake, let's say he was going to go. I don't know if you're familiar with Cavan. So say Pat's College, right, in Cavan, it's a secondary school. For argument's sake, let's say the state was like, yeah, we have a private school, we have a school for you to go to, a public school. We're going to allow you to go to this school instead of the other school. Um, but the problem is the state's not going to do it. Like, they're not going to do it. Not even that, the principal, particularly because there's such how would you put, the workshops and stuff it's caused. The state won't do it. They won't do it. They won't pay them. And the principal of that school wouldn't want them, and the teachers probably wouldn't want them there, because in case that happened again, and then there'd be a big charade about it, if that makes sense. That's about the whole situation. But they can grant him his job back. But it's not even that. This school, like, I try and explain to you, the school that he's at, the Church of Ireland school, it's owned by the religious order, the Church of Ireland. It's not owned by the state, but the state pays towards it, if that makes sense. The state pays it. The Department of Education pays these teachers. But the ground itself, the area itself, is owned by the Church of Ireland. So the Church of Ireland has a role in this too, along with the state. But the state pays his wages, if that makes any sense. But technically, in terms of that, it would have to be the Church of Ireland, probably, they would have to allow him to go back into school. But they're not going to do it, because of all the trouble, in terms of going to school and walking through the corridors and outside. They're not going to do it. Simple as that. And I don't foresee it. Maybe if you went to a private school, but then again, you have the other issue there. If you went to a private school, the principal probably wouldn't want them there, because if something like that happened or anything like that, they'd be afraid of that. If that makes sense. So he's pretty much burned all the bridges. Well, not him personally, but what happened, etc. It's pretty much burned all the bridges in Ireland, unfortunately. But that's what I'm saying. In the United States, they would want somebody like him in something, and he would get paid probably double what he gets here if he got a job in some of them, because he would probably get a job in some school, like Catholic schools over there. Like, there's some really conservative schools in some parts of the United States, really, really conservative, and they want teachers like that. And he get probably triple the money or double the money in some cases, because he's definitely never going to be able to teach in Ireland again. Like, there's no hope of that. And particularly because, again, he's not asked. Like, it'd be different if he said, "Can I be moved to another school?" He never asked. He's always said, "I want to go back to Winston's Hospital School." It's like, it'd be different if he said, "I want to move to another school." Maybe then they might be like, fair enough. But the thing about it is, he has to purge his contempt for us, because he's in prison for contempt of court and for trespassing, etc. So he has to purge his contempt for us. He's not going to get it unless he purges his contempt. If that makes any sense, it's a long, complicated. Like, the law itself is very complicated when it comes to these things. And particularly, there probably hasn't been an incident like this, probably, in the history of the state, in terms of something like that. If you get what I'm saying, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but it's a long, complicated process. But particularly, I don't think he would ever be able to teach again in Ireland. Like, during the election for the presidency, you heard them say the folk head of Humphreys. Like, head of Humphreys is nowhere to be found. That's what I'm saying. So they literally went around saying folk for head of Humphreys. And I haven't even, you take head of Humphreys to go and stand up for him and say, we should give him his job back. But that's what I'm saying. There's no political will to get his job back. There's none of the politicians to stand up for him. Like, head of Humphreys, even though she won the presidency, I think they thought that she would stand up for them, but she's not going to do it. Head of Humphreys, she never even talked about it once. But their idea was that the born again Christians, not really Catholics, but born again Christians, which is pretty much, yeah, like, he's like, they were shouting at the judge and stuff in the courtroom and stuff, and they're driving the judge mad. Like, but I understand, like, the whole beginning of it, like, in terms of him being forced to use pronouns, etc. It shouldn't have happened in the public school, like, in a school. Like, you're there to learn. It'd be different if the child in question knew a lot about person, like it was an uncle, or was a friend, or whatever. That's a different story. But it's a school that's you're there to learn English or learn Irish or whatever it says. He's a history and German teacher, I think he is. But you're there to learn history. You're not there to be pronounced, to be told you're she, him, or he, him. You're there to learn. It's the same with the civil service. You're there to serve the public. You're not there to be pronoun police. It's the same with An Garda Síochána. The whole job of An Garda Síochána is to keep the peace and make sure everybody's safe. You're not there to enforce thought crime. That's the whole thing. It's the same in the HSE. You're there to look after people who are sick and need help. You're not there to be pronoun police. That's the whole idea. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. And nobody should be forced to say you should identify this person as this. It's your own business if you want to do it. Of course, it's your own opinion. But forcing someone to do it is not right. Yeah, but the thing about it is they want the Catholic Church to stand up for him, but he's not part of the Catholic Church. So why would the Catholic Church stand up for him? It's the Church of Ireland probably should be standing up for him in terms of this. But the Catholic Church have been silent here on it. The Bishop of Kilmore here, they talked to the Bishop of Kilmore here, my diocese, and he's a bit of a useless person. The Bishop of Kilmore is no addition. But yeah. But yeah. But what I'm trying to say, he's made his point. That's my main thing. He's made his point. Everybody's heard his point and stuff, and I think it doesn't solve him. It doesn't solve anybody's interest to continue. If that makes any sense, to turn up to the school, go to the school, and walk around the corridors, etc. It doesn't. It's not getting anywhere. What I'm trying to say. It'd be different now in the morning. The state was like, fair enough, we'll give you a job back, but they're not going to do it. Simply not. If that makes sense, and it's just you're going to keep going. And I think too for the school too, because he is going into the school and walking around the corridors, as far as I'm aware too, along with being outside. For the children in the school too, it's a big distraction for them, and then for the teachers and the parents, etc. But yeah, I think he's made his point. That's what I'm trying to get across. It's not that I'm saying he's not. He's right in the whole beginning when they shouldn't have been told in the first place. But he did breach a court order and he is trespassing on the school. But what I'm trying to say, it'd be different if this led to him getting reinstated or something, but it's not going to happen. And that's just straight up to you. It's not going to happen. Unless there's some change in government, unless there's a radical change in government and the government overturn it. But even if Sinn Féin got in the morning, or Labour Party, whoever, they still would not reinstate him. Simple as that. None of them would, to be totally honest. Because I don't even know of one TD or one senator that has publicly stood with him, like outside the gates or anything. Or one councillor, any of them. As far as I'm aware, I could be wrong. I'm just trying to take in my head. It's hard to remember everything. But as far as I know, I never heard them, I have said. But the other thing, too, they kind of shot themselves in the foot doing. They might have got some backing of TDs and stuff and senators, but they went around, basically shouting at them on the street and stuff. Of course, you're entitled to speak your mind to your TD, etc., etc. But they kind of burned them bridges too, if that makes any sense. I don't know, but you get what I'm saying. I think everybody understands what I'm saying. Yeah, I think it was I don't know. I think it wasn't even 18. It was a secondary school, like it was a high school, what you would call in America. But this is the thing, like in a school that you paid, it's you're there to learn. That's my point in the school. The whole thing is you're there to learn. You're there to be taught things. Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. It'd be different if that was a pronoun school. If you went to a pronoun school, was able to. But you're there to learn. Like as a teacher, like when I went to school and stuff, I was there to learn. Like the whole idea of a school is that you're there to learn something, either be maths, English, or whatever. You're learning something. You're not there to be pronoun police. If that makes any sense, that's my whole point of it. It's the same as the Gardaí shouldn't. The Gardaí shouldn't be going around arresting people for thought crime because they have too much time to think. If that makes any sense, they should be going out and fighting people with knives that are actually going out and harming people. Committing actual crimes, hitting people, bullying people in the streets, etc., etc., robbing people. They should be worried about them crimes instead of worrying about thought crime or trying to police the internet because it won't work regardless of what countries does it. It's simply impossible to police what everybody says. Even though the state is trying their best, they're not going to concede. But the last thing I say about Ela Buck, like in fairness to me, he stuck with his thought crimes, think crime. Um, but in fairness, he did stick by his guns. Like in fairness to him, he did. He's never like backed away from his point. Uh, which in fairness, I have respect for that. That he hasn't given up his values. You know, do you get what I'm saying? Um, even though I don't agree with everything he's done, comes that. Um, but what do you think? What do you just? I know we're on for a long time there, but what do you think? Do you think he get his job, or what do you think you do? Because personally, I do think he's going to be back in prison for another 500 days. And he's still good when he comes out of factory because they can't keep him forever. For 3 or 4 years. Yeah, talk to him. They can't keep him for 4 or 5 years. Another 500 days, and he'll be out again, and he'll be at the school again. And the cycle just keeps going and going and going because they've already taken his salary and they've done everything else. And that still hasn't stopped him from doing it. So he's just going to keep going, which in a way you can respect because he won't give up his values. Um, but at the same time, too, it's achieving nothing. He's losing everything for nothing. That's the point I'm making too. It's a very reasonable point to make because it is the truth. He's basically achieving nothing. He's pretty much doing this for nothing. Yeah, that's my whole point about it. Like at the beginning and stuff, like I was showing them up something fierce, like the state and stuff. But at the moment in time, you can basically show them up no more. If that makes any sense, because he's already done it. Maybe 20 times to this stage. If that makes any sense. I don't know if you get it. I might not be putting it the best way, but oh. So what do we take, sorry? Like, do you think he's ever going to get his job back, or what do we take? Or do you think he's going to go back to prison, or what's the story? But he's repeatedly trespassing, And not only that, he's defying a court order. The court has told him not to go near the school. The court have said that millions of times, not to go back near the school. Like it's not just once they said it; they said it about 30, 40 times. So pretty much he's breaking the court order and trespassing. And that's why he's in prison too for contempt of court. That's the whole thing, is he's defying the court in a way too. Yeah, like I do. I don't think he's already dug his grave for this stage. What I'm trying to say, like he's made his bed. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think there's a way of getting out of that. That's what, I can't see physically a way of him getting out of it. In terms of getting a job in the Irish state, etc. Yeah, it is. It is the truth. Like at this stage, we have to face reality, and I think Ela Buck does too, because it is just simply the truth, unfortunately. Because he's not going. Like it'd be different. He had something to gain. It'd be different if the state were going to give, but the state's not going to give, and that's just pretty much the truth. The state's not going to give up. They're determined not to give up at this stage. Whatever, but before maybe they would have leaned a bit, but now they're just outright determined not to give in 1 cent. If that makes any sense. And he's not going to. He's not, even if they set him to prison for another 500 days, he's going to come out and do the same thing again. And then the cycle just keeps going, and this is going to go on for another 10 years. What I'm trying to say. And then and eventually he won't have anything. Like he'd already want to take his car. They've taken his salary. Like they can't really take much more of him. What else can they do about it? But that's what I'm saying. It's not that I'm taking the side of the state here. It's that I'm just saying that there's no feasible way, in my opinion, that he can get a job in Ireland, like a teaching job and stuff. There's no angle. It'd be different if there was a door left open. But there's no door for him to go through. The only door is if he goes off to the United States, goes off to another country to teach. That's the only door he has, pretty much. In my opinion, I know it's not a great thing to say, but it's simply the truth, unfortunately. Hello, I think it's, what was it, Yusuf? Yeah, hello, Yusuf. You on the line tonight? Jesus Christ, it's already nearly 8 o'clock. Time flies. Where did that fucking hour go? Like, good God. We're not even an hour, 44 minutes. Jesus, where did that go? Getting into the Christmas spirit, but not really, not yet. Oh, you're getting into the Christmas spirit. Well, geez, you might as well, I suppose. But listen, I'm not really getting into the Christmas spirit yet. We're taking out the Christmas decorations next week. We're not putting them up yet. We're waiting to the 5th, the 6th. That'll be time enough. Also, it was in the local media too. I don't know if you've seen this. It was on the community post, but yeah, it was on the Anglo South. Then I met the former Finnish Prime Minister. So there we go. So that was in the local media here. They met the former Finnish Prime Minister of Finland. Yeah, like the things of the like your handles, your YouTube handles. That's what it is. But yeah, so it was in pretty much the local media. So there you go. It's a miracle how they haven't come to me yet, to like for an article. I'm surprised they didn't come for an article, like to write up an article about what we discussed and stuff. No, we're not going to send out Christmas cards. We're not going to do that. You're famous. I think it was already famous before. And so I talked about this, I think, in the other live streams. But the playground in Cavan Town, Chinese music. No, it isn't. Yes, the playground in Cavan Town has been closed at night now due to antisocial behaviour. Basically, some people are doing drugs and the graffiti and etc. and doing other stuff. In some cases, shitting and stuff in the park, unfortunately too. But this is the thing, and this is the thing that none of the councils want to talk about. Like the councillors are saying they had no other choice. But this is the thing, they didn't even bother. The Gaudi and the state didn't bother to try and fight this. It's very bad to capitulate because it pretty much the state capitulated and just closed it because that's just a simple answer. Instead of kind of fighting these people that are causing this trouble. What I mean by fighting them is sending the Gaudi in to get them and throw them into a cell for a night. Or even just get them and make sure they do a hard day's work. Grabbing them and making them go out and do rubbish collect and take what's up and stuff. But they're just literally doing the simple answer because the simple answer, and the thing is, and the councils don't seem to get it. But if they're not doing antisocial behaviour in the playground, they're going to go somewhere else and do it. Let's put it that way. This is the thing. So they're basically moving the problem from another area to another area. If that makes any sense. So it's utterly ridiculous that they capitulated. They shouldn't have capitulated. They should have tried to fight it because it's going to happen somewhere else. Not Con Smith Park. It's probably going to happen in some other part of the town. And the Garda station's only up the road too. So what are the guards doing? They're hiding in the guards' barracks. They're afraid to do anything. The Gaudi, and this is the thing, was talked about 3 years ago about getting a park warden for Con Smith's Park in the town. And there was never discussion about that again because the simple answer is they didn't want to pay the people to go out and get a park warden and stuff for the area. They didn't want to do it. Simple, they just were too mean to pay for it. No, I didn't see that in Australia, no. I know, David, how are you doing? But yeah, so it is a disgrace that they capitulated, in my opinion. Because I don't think capitulating it solved anybody, if that makes any sense. Do you get what I'm saying? I think people agree with that because if you capitulate, it's not really solving it. It's more hurting the community because they shouldn't have to do this. Is what I'm trying to say. Because you're going to go somewhere else. That's what I'm trying to say. It'd be different if they got them right and put them in prison for a few weeks or a few months. They might learn a lesson, or they got them to do some hard physical work. But this is the thing. Nobody's been caught. Nobody's been stopped from doing it. So they're going to do it somewhere else. If not there, they're going to go somewhere else and commit graffiti or shitting on the ground. Like literally, in some cases, they were shitting on just the middle of the ground in a children's play park. So, it's quite disgusting. not even for the disrespect to the community. It's not even just to themselves, for the community and stuff, because there's a community playground for children and stuff, and of course drugs and needless too. It's disgraceful that they don't think of the community. It's not they're too busy worrying about themselves. They should be worrying about the community and the people, and particularly young children that use the park. It's not appropriate that them things happen. No, not on the children, but in the playground, on the tiles and stuff in the playground. It's just really immature stuff that's been done. And again, the fact of the matter, the council just said we're going to close it. We're not going to try and fight this or do it or sort it out or anything. We're just going to let them win, pretty much. That's what I deem it as. Well, thankfully, I'm not a councillor because it wouldn't be a capitulation. It'd be a lot worse for them. That's the people that are doing it. Might have them out doing a hard day's walk, and that'll solve it. But it's the same thing. Like the Gardaí, a lot of the Gardaí are just too afraid to do anything. Simple as that. Like years ago, the Gardaí would go with the batons and break a few skulls. Let's put it that way. That's what the Gardaí would have done years ago if you were causing trouble. They would have went in and battered you with the sticks. They do it for nowadays outside the work provision setters. If you ever want to get hit by the Gardaí or beaten up by the Gardaí, go outside the work provision setter. They're very good at hitting old women, etc., protesting outside the work provision setters. But when it comes to people causing trouble, they know where to be found with the sticks. No, but the way I see it is an attack on the community. And it's public property, and it's the community. You and I are paying for it. I deem it as an attack on the community. That's the way I see it. And I don't think it's right that we have to close this, even though it's a nighttime, etc. But it's still not right that it has to be done. It shouldn't have to be done. Like when I was younger, I used to play in that park too. And we didn't have to worry about them things. But nowadays, children do, and the parents have to worry about it. What happened? It's a long story, but I explained it, I think, there a second, but I'll not go through it all. But pretty much antisocial behaviour and those stuff. But that's what I'm saying. But I do think the councillors need to man up a bit in terms of that. Because it can be done if we get them. We can sort them out then. That's why. Because there's other ways to combat this, if that makes any sense. Because I think they're just throwing the toys. They threw the toys out of the pram before even doing anything else. But I'm probably just too critical. But a lot of people have said that in Cavan, that they should have done something more than just say we give up. Basically, that's pretty much what's been said. Because it'd be different if they said we try and get something done, or we try and do this, and we go and do that, we put cameras up, we do something. But no, we're just going to capitulate. That's what a lot of people have said, not just me, and I deem it as that too. And I know some people that have said that too, that they deem it as a capitulation too. No, there's no water in the park. It's just like a park. It's beside the institute down in Cavan. Aliens? Oh no, we're not going to go there. But yeah. But yeah. So there we go. I know this is not the end of the world, like that thing. Like the way I'm describing it, I think a lot of people think, Jesus Christ, you're causing such a walk. It's over, over a park, children's playground. Such a walk is over that. It'd be different, like if they literally went and shot somebody. But no, we don't really I don't know personally who's doing it. If that makes any sense. I don't know personally who's doing it. But yeah, to show you this. Fucking ads. So Sandra Mowen put out this last night. Now everybody's upset because she committed the ultimate sin, and unfortunately, I know the feeling. So I can if I couldn't relate to Sandra Mowen anymore, I know the feeling because she misspelled stuff and grammar, etc., etc. And obviously, she grew up speaking Finnish and learned English pretty much later in life. It can happen to the best of us, what I'm trying to say. But I respect the woman for not changing it. She stuck to her guns and stuff, pretty much. Because the peace deal for Ukraine is catastrophic. Not like you see them saying it's not catastrophic. It's different kind of thing. I can never answer, but for the citizens and stuff. And as citizens, but for all democratic, a lot of people saying about grammar, spelling mistakes and stuff. Like a lot of people just talking shit, basically, in a lot of cases. Like a lot of people just pointing out, like the spelling mistake. Like it's now I can't find any. And a few minutes ago I could find a lot. Um, but she's not wrong in what she's saying. Like even though there's grammar mistakes and stuff, like earlier on was just full of it. I think it's in the quote tweets maybe. But of course I do agree with a lot of what she said. Not in everything, of course, but on a good bit. Where was it? There was a good lot. There was a lot of tweets just saying about. Where was it? Like just the whole. Yeah, like a lot of people just pointing out the spelling mistakes and the grammar, etc. Now I can't find it yet. A lot of people just pointing out. So like literally everything else went over their heads. What I'm trying to say. Yeah, like I can have a lot of it went over their heads. But no, I can relate to the woman on that. Like, in fairness, people always say, you're very bad at spelling and stuff, and very bad at grammar and stuff, because I'm dyslexic, of course. So you can never tell. Even if I looked at it for 6 or 7 hours, you still wouldn't be able to tell. But, even the best of us, the former Prime Minister of Finland, my idol, you could call too, makes mistakes and stuff. And we all do, and that's the thing when it comes to spelling. But you get her point. She makes her point, and you can read in between the lines and get what she's saying. And she's right in terms of what she said about you, like in 2014, when Russia went into Crimea, the Western world pretty much just stood there and did nothing. So if the West would have acted in 2014, I don't think this would have happened. Like in modern day, if that makes any sense. And she's right in saying too that we should learn from the past. Because you do have the fears of the 1938 Munich conference a bit. And not to mention, too, she is right in saying that this was only emboldened. Like Russia attacked Ukraine, like Russia, fired the first shot. You can argue about NATO expanding, etc., etc. That's true enough. In fairness, that is true enough. But Russia fired the first shot of war. And of course, if Russia gets huge swathes of Ukraine, that would just embolden China, take for example, to invade Taiwan or the Philippines. And it would embolden other countries, take for example, North Korea and South Korea. North Korea would be like, Russia was able to gain stuff from Ukraine. So wars of aggression, we can actually gain South Korea. This is what people, dictatorships and stuff, believe in their heads and stuff. Do you get what I'm saying? That's the way I see it. I know a lot of people are giving her a lot of slack for it. But I do believe personally, after meeting Sanna Marin, that we didn't talk about Ukraine. I would have talked longer with her, of course, if I was there. We were only talking for 7 minutes, but pretty much we didn't talk about Ukraine or anything like that. But I would personally believe that Sanna Marin is not in favour of just thousands of people dying every week, regardless of who they are. I truly believe that. But he is right in saying that we should just not capitulate, like straight away, saying, here, have all Ukraine, pretty much. Have majority of the lands. What I'm saying about Ukraine at the moment, it should be the battle lines that's there at the moment. Russia should probably keep the areas that they've taken, pretty much what I'm trying to say. But what Donald Trump's proposing that we give more than the areas that Russia has taken, if that makes any sense. Even though it's a lot of ground, I will admit, it is an awful lot of ground. But it's still only, what they're proposing to give a huge amount more than what they have at the moment, and give Ukraine a small bit more. Because Russia hasn't won. That's the thing. Russia hasn't won, and that's the thing we have to admit. They're not in Kiev. They haven't taken all of Ukraine. Like the battlefield has pretty much not moved. Like in a month, like in a few months. Sorry, the battlefield hasn't moved. It moved a few kilometers, but pretty much Russia and Ukraine is at a stalemate. Like they're at a stalemate. We have to admit that Russia eventually probably will win if it went on for another 6 or 7 years. They probably eventually will win. They will wear Ukraine down. But it's still it's going to take an awful lot of casualties and an awful lot of money an effort for Russia to get, say, to Kiev or to the other side of Ukraine. And not to mention the amount of people that have already lost, etc. And this was only supposed to be a few days military operations, special military operations, 4 or 5 days. We'd be in Kiev, it hasn't worked out that way for Russia. What I'm trying to say, like, it's not like Russia has totally victorious, if that makes sense. Like Russia and Ukraine are a stalemate. It's just a stalemate. Nobody's making any way. Russia's moving a small bit here and there, but the grand scheme of things, they haven't moved much. Because pretty much for a country the size of Russia and the army, etc., probably they should have been in Kiev within a week. When the war did start, thankfully they didn't. Because even as a neutral country, speaking as somebody from Ireland and stuff, I know it's none of our business. It's a conflict in the other side of Europe, but still at the same time, it raises a bad precedent if Russia does succeed. That other countries like North Korea or China will say Russia succeeded, so we can do the same. And she is right in saying that that's the way dictatorships, when they see that other countries, they're weak and stuff like that, and they won't do anything. Other countries will do the same, unfortunately. And I know as a neutral country, we don't have it like that, but even more as a country, a small country, it sets a bad preferences for smaller nations against bigger nations. That, say, for example, the United Kingdom said in the morning, "Oh, because Russia done this, we can go and invade Ireland, take for example, we can conquer Ireland, etc." Because we're a bigger country and because nobody will stop us, etc. That's the way I see it. But yeah, this is the thing. But I understand. Don't get me wrong. Like the whole NATO, the whole agreement when the Soviet Union fell. When the Soviet Union fell, obviously the majority of the countries around Poland and Estonia, Latvia, Ukraine, Belarus became free. And they were pretty much free from the USSR. But this is the thing. Like countries, it's up to them to decide their own futures and stuff. But this is the other thing. That what was I trying to say? I suppose let me try and phrase this. That conflict should be the thing of the past, pretty much. It should be left in the Second World War. But the whole idea of NATO, the whole agreement with NATO when the USSR fell, or even in the early 2000s, is that no country, like in the Balkan, like in the Baltics, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, or even Ukraine or Finland, should join NATO. Like NATO shouldn't go closer to Russia, shouldn't expand. What I'm trying to say. So I understand that. Like they did break that. NATO did break that by adding Romania and adding other countries, Romania and Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. They did break that agreement with the USSR that them countries wouldn't join NATO. But Finland's a different case. Like Russia basically brought it upon themselves, Finland and Sweden, China, because they literally went into a country and invaded their neighbour. So they literally brought it on themselves. I generally do think San Marino would have not joined NATO if Russia didn't do what they did. Simple as that. And that's just a simple fact. She wouldn't have done it. Simple as that. There was no interest to do it. It's the same with Sweden. Sweden was neutral for fucking 300 years or something like that. And it was all because Russia, Putin decided to invade another country and to wage a war of aggression. Because at the end of the day, what matters in war, it's the same in any war. You look back in World War II, or you look back at World War One, even Austria-Hungary invaded Serbia, which kicked off the First World War. They fired the first shot. You could argue the first shot was fired when the Archduke was assassinated in Sarajevo, but Austria-Hungary went in on Serbia and give them a huge ultimatum of basically give up everything in your country. And obviously, no sovereign country would say yes, I'm going to give up my whole country. But yeah, Austria-Hungary invaded Serbia, and then the cycle. Russia joined in, and then France, etc. And then obviously too with the Second World War, the Nazis invaded Poland. Went in with the armed force, invaded Poland. Now you could argue the Second World War started with Japan and China. But yeah, that's pretty much happened. Then obviously the American Civil War just takes us out, but too, the Confederate States fired on Fort Sumter. The aggressor, pretty much in nearly every war, the aggressor who fires the first shot is the aggressor. That's the thing. Whoever fires the first shot is the aggressor, in my opinion. It's the same in other conflicts. You can think of other conflicts around the world. You've seen with the United States just recently in our modern history. The United States and the United Kingdom going into Iraq, Saddam Hussein, weapons of mass destruction. The United States fired the first shot there. because they allegedly had weapons of mass destruction. That makes any sense. And there was nothing found. That's what I'm saying. But they fired the first shot. It wasn't like Hassan was saying. You could say the way he went into Kuwait. He did go into Kuwait, but the United States had other goals. If that makes any sense. Like they were scheming to get into Iraq, mainly for oil and stuff like that. But there was other reasons too. But you get what I'm saying. Like whoever fires the first shot is the aggressor, and Russia went in on Ukraine. That's the simple stand. The same was when they went in 2014 to Crimea. They went into Crimea. Simple as that. And that's just the straight up truth. And obviously, a lot of people are trying to deny that and stuff, that did happen, that Russia had no other choice, except they had plenty of choice. It's at the end of the day, they're losing people too. That's the whole point of the matter. They're losing a lot of people. They're losing a lot of guns. They're losing a lot of economy. It benefits no one. What I'm trying to say, the only people who benefits is the elite, Putin, the oligarchs, the Kremlin, etc. Even people in Ukraine, the elites in Ukraine and Zelensky, etc. It's benefiting them and NATO to the military-industrial complex. But for the only Irish person, the only European, the only Ukrainian, the only Russian, even just to say, it benefits them no way, because people ended up in body bags and ended up dead, and more and destruction is brought to a huge swathe of Western Europe, and it's not worth it. So we're seeing in the Second World War, it isn't worth the sheer amount of damage that's being done at the moment, and the sheer amount of people who have to bury their loved ones. It's not worth it. And I think we should have learned. And I think the main thing we should have learned is that we should have left war in the past. I do think we should have left it, because pretty much after World War II, we were like, never again will something like this happen. They said the same thing in World War One, and then World War II came around, that never again this will happen and stuff. But I suppose you get my point. But what I'm trying to say is, we shouldn't, even as the West, as a neutral country too. It's important that other big countries cannot just say we're going to take half, even the areas they haven't conquered yet, Russia, that we're entitled to this because why not? That's pretty much their argument. Even though they haven't won, like it'd be different if they actually won, you like in Kiev, and then took the whole country. But they're pretty much in stalemate. That's the way I see it. I know I'm in Ireland. I have no really say in this, but it's important for Ireland too. It's important for every country. That bigger countries can face smaller countries and achieve anything. That makes sense. I'm sure you get what I'm saying. And the whole goal behind that is just that we don't want to see people dying and suffering, and war and hunger and famine, etc. And I think that's just the main thing for me. It's not worth. It's not worth all this the suffering. There's already enough suffering in the world without war and hatred and people being killed and stuff. There's already enough suffering. People struggle day to day to put food in their mouth, etc., to pay the rent, to pay just to survive. I didn't have conflict on that. It's not helping anyone. I know I went into a huge tangent there, but I do feel very strongly about that, to be totally honest with you. I don't know what you think about that, but let me know what you think. Like, do you think Ukraine will accept this peace proposal? But I do think it's wrong to say to a sovereign country too in the peace proposal that you must limit your army, etc., to 600,000. I think it is. Like, I would say that, like, even if it was an Ireland, like, no country has a right to say to us, we should have an army of, say, 20,000 or 30,000. We should not have an army of 30,000. For example, say the United Kingdom was like to us in the morning. You're not allowed to have 40,000 in the army. Like, it's our own business how much soldiers we have, how much military we have. So I don't think it's right for some country to say you must not have a big army because of this. But I do think the other thing is important is that the security guarantees, because this could happen even if there's a peace in the morning, for example. Russia could go in now in 6 months' time again if they wanted to, if nobody was willing to stop them. So the only way to really achieve some kind of lasting peace is the United States will guarantee Ukraine. And what that means is basically the United States will say if Russia acts in any way, the United States will intervene. because that's the only way to stop it. Because Russia will never take on the United States of America, or NATO, like physically, like 'cause, the United States is just a mega suit. Like there's no industrial complex like it. Like the United States military is absolutely massive. Like no country would like be well to take on the United States of America. And not even that, then the West, the allies, NATO. And that's the only way because they could do it in 7 years' time from now if there was peace in the morning. So the only way to do it is to have some kind of lasting peace, and the only way for that is guarantees, from the United States and from NATO too, from the West of NATO. But also, I do think it should have been what was proposed before. There should be that it's going to be demilitarized line, but I do think there should be like in the like neutral countries, Ireland, Austria, Switzerland, other countries, who are not aligned, who are not in any military alliance, like in on the border, if that makes sense, in no man's land, pretty much, like as a buffer zone, I suppose, to stop any hostilities from any side. Like I do think Irish troops would have a role to play with that. If they did, I do think they should do something like that. That there's countries in the middle that are non-aligned, have no dog in the fight, if that makes any sense. To stop like violence from breaking out. You get what I'm saying. I know I'm saying a lot, but I do think it's not the greatest deal because it's favoured in Russia a lot. And I know people say Russia was winning, but they're winning at a very slow rate. It'd take another 7 years to get to Kiev, at this stage. If that makes any sense, and they're losing a huge amount of men. So nobody's winning from this war. Nobody's winning because Russia's losing men, and the bodies keep piling up for Ukraine and even Russia, as I say. And eventually, we see in Russia too, it's not going well to the economy. It's just the simple fact. Like nobody's winning. Nobody wins in war. The only people wins is the military-industrial complex and the elites and stuff. Like no only person wins. That makes any sense. But again, that's just my opinion, so don't shoot me for it. I'm just saying what I'm seeing in front of me. And it's not that I'm being paid by NATO and stuff like that. I'm the most anti-NATO person you meet. We're not anti-NATO, but like just to get Ireland ever joining NATO. So I do have a dog in the fight. Because Ireland should never join any military alliance. Yeah, I don't know what you think. Sorry, I put it on for a long time, but that's just my view on it. We see what happens, but that's just my view. But I do think we should look at it a bit more. The last thing I say is, of course, it's hard to get both sides, like Ukraine and Russia, to meet in the middle, try and find some kind of common ground to build something on, like a peace deal. It's going to be very, very difficult. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't think capitulating, to one side will help anything. I do think it should be fair because, as I say, Russia hasn't won. They will win eventually if it keeps going. As I say, not till 7 years' time, with the cost of another 100 or million, a few more million people. Because even as we talk now, there's thousands of people being killed, and that's the main thing too. That so many people are going home in body bags, to their families. And I don't think we realise that as people, that so many people being killed. Because God knows how many people has been killed. There could be 3 or 4 million people dead over the last few years. That we know of. It's quite insane on both sides. And it's just an endless amount of suffering. It's just to grind them. That makes any sense. And it's all just for pride. That's really all the war. It's just for pride and for profit. It's not about anything else. Maybe I'm just too cynical and stuff, but that's just the way I see it. Yeah. But what do we take, sorry? Everybody's gone to sleep on me. Everybody had enough of me for tonight. Well, sorry I went on. I probably went on for a long time. But of course, it's good that we're able to have a discussion and stuff. And able to speak freely and stuff. There was actually something I just was going to say. I just looked at this the other day. So would you believe we have literally not banned one person this year at all? Oh, majority last year was, well, we did ban somebody, but it was kind of like a bot last year or something. It was like sometime during the summer last year. But since then, we have literally banned no one. Just to say, there's only been literally one person in all this year been timed out. One person. Like, think about that. Like, literally only one person this year has been timed out, like, for 10 minutes. So quite literally, I have to say this is literally one of the most freest channels on YouTube, because literally nobody's been censored for anything. Like, what I'm trying to say, it's a good thing. I'm very proud of that. I'm very happy about that. That people can openly discuss things, even though I often disagree with some people on here. I'm able to, we're able to have a free discussion and an open discussion, that people are not demonized for their opinion, if that makes any sense. And I think that's a great thing, and I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the community for that here. That literally nobody, like, for the last year and a bit probably, has been banned for any kind of events here. There was one person this year was like putting time out for 10 minutes, but I think that was just a troll, pretty much. Oh, you're a few minutes behind. Yeah, well, it's debatable, but still, at the end of the day, what matters is that Russia shouldn't have went in and took Crimea, like, by force, like military force. Yeah, but see, when the USSR fell, Crimea went to Ukraine, and that was agreed upon when the USSR fell. The USSR said, "Yeah, Ukraine, you can have Crimea," if that makes any sense. Like when the USSR fell and the Russian Federation started, they literally like the Ukraine, "Yeah, you can keep Crimea." They didn't say we want to keep it, if that makes any sense. But it's not right for someone to go in with guns and take it by force, if that makes any sense. Even though people would say there was referendums, but again, the referendums that were held in Russia, it'd be different if, say, the international community, the UN had the referendums, because let's be fair, we couldn't really trust the Russians, because what they were doing in the voting stations, they literally had armed guards there in the voting stations, like checking on what people were putting down. So I don't know about independent voting. Like, I do think if it was an international body that went in and done, like, asked the people of Crimea what do they want, it would be more fair, because I don't know, could you trust the Russians and what they said in terms of that. Maybe I'm being cynical and stuff, but I don't know, because they're hardly going to say after conquering the territory they voted to reject us. They're hardly going to do that. It wouldn't look good, if that makes any sense. It's not that I'm just like I don't have any reason, because you have to remember too, when Russia invaded Ukraine this time, I remember even them saying it was only training. Why is all the Russian army on the border of Ukraine? They're only training. Do you remember that was said from the Kremlin, that they're only exercising training on the border? And that's what was said to the woman behind me too, when she was the prime minister, that the Russian government basically said to the Finnish government they were only training, and that there was no need to be concerned, about the Russian army being at the Ukrainian border. So you would wonder why Finland would like, yeah, we don't trust the Russians after them literally lying to us. We probably should join NATO, because there was no trust. And the same would even just take, for example, Crimea with Karelia, Finnish Karelia. It's Russian now. Since the Winter War, etc. Like when Finland gained independence in 1917, and obviously the Soviets were coming up then, and etc. And the White Russians, the White Russians, that would have been what they called the Tsarists. When the Russian Civil War broke out, when Finland declared independence, when basically the Civil War started in Russia, Lenin said to Finland, "Yeah, you can keep Karelia, say for example. That's a part of Finland. That's been historically part of Finland for the last few hundred years." And there was no issue with that. And then a few years later, when Lenin died, 30 years later, Stalin came along and said, "I want this piece of land that the USSR, that the Russians promised to the Finnish nation. We want that. We want to take it by force." And they went in and took it by force. Now, may I say, they've lost 500,000 people or so taking it by force in 3 months. It didn't go well. But you get what I'm saying. Like, the Russians are known for saying, "Here you go, have this," and then saying, "No, we want this back," by military force and stuff. But yeah. But the thing I'm not saying, I'm on the side of no one, pretty much. But I want the war to end. That's my main thing. But at the same time, I want it to be, lasting peace. And we don't want to create this kind of thing that, something can arise in the future. And particularly, again, as I keep saying, Russia has not won yet. Simple as that, because Russia is not in Kiev, or it's not on the other side of Ukraine. Like, it's going to take another 7 years for them to get anywhere. near Kiev at this stage, because they have not moved. The lines only have moved about 5 kilometers this year alone. Like, they haven't moved much. Like, as Putin said at the beginning of it, it'd be only 4 or 5 days military operation we've done. We'd be home by Christmas. And it didn't work out that way. Thankfully, it didn't work out that way. But we see what happens. Hopefully, sorry, give me a moment. Where am I? Sorry, I'm reading up and stuff. Talk among yourself, sorry, for 2 seconds. Apologies, give me 2 seconds. This is the worst thing about being a YouTube live stream. The stuff happens. Where am I here now? Sorry. That's the worst thing about being a YouTube live stream. Things happen when you're live. Yeah, sorry, I'm back again. Sorry, I just read the things down. Read the things. But yeah, so is there anything else anybody wants to talk about? I know Green Phase is probably a few minutes behind. I know it went on for a good while. So is there anything else? I take off this hat and become a bit but just going back to the point I made a few minutes ago about how free this channel is for people to discuss stuff. I'm very proud of that. I'm really, really am very proud of that. I think it's a good achievement. Because I've often seen in other people's channels, like people being banned for just simple questions and stuff. Or even if they disagree with the person, and obviously that's not right. I've often argued with people out here about different views and stuff. But that's what democracy is about, having an argument and discussing your views and defending your positions on different things. But of course, some people, like on the modern internet nowadays, just you're like I just seen the other day too, like just in my comments, like I was making a point about something, and literally someone was like, "You're a clown." Like, they didn't explain what basis to have for me being a clown, but you're just a clown, like there's no argument. Usually I would say you're a clown because you believe this and this other thing happened and then this other thing, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I've literally, I bet you any money that some conservative Irish YouTubers, take this up, if you said that to them, they would be very upset. They actually would be very, very upset. Like, some of them actually would probably ban you for it. Just because they would, like, I generally do think some of them would. Defrosting the turkey, yes. But yeah, not many people getting turkey this year. The bird flu was about in a few places. So I said there'd be less turkeys than before. Because a lot of people are a bit spooked over this bird flu. But no, is there anything else anybody wants to discuss? So any questions? Because I know I go off on tangents for a few minutes, but to haters, well, that's nice. Yeah, but if we do get a turkey, this would be locally produced. Favorite tea, just only tea, black tea. Yeah, like there's other people like in Finland, they're mad on their tea. They have all kinds of tea, green tea and this tea and the other tea. Like literally, there's about 7 lists of tea. Like it's insane. Like I just like black tea. Give me English tea, and then all of a sudden it's just that. There's just that meme of the person writing writing down the Irish meme. When you say English tea, so English tea. But way out of the conflict. Also on Twitter nowadays, I don't know how many people's on Twitter, but they released a new thing that basically you can see where the accounts are based. Like where they are based. I can't find it. Now, after just saying that I can't find it, here we are. Like, take for example this account on Twitter, Republicans Against Trump. It tells you when they joined, in 2022. But they say they're based in Austria. But this is just the first one I've seen. It says they're based in Austria. And I could know they're joined from Austria, sorry, and then they're based in the United States. But there's other accounts, like, that's just one out of many. Just to say, like, I can't see them because you have to be verified to see them, but some of them are posting screenshots of which accounts are from where. Which I do think it's necessary because a lot of people. What the fuck am I looking at? Excuse me, sorry, apologies. Where the fuck is it? Like here, look at this app here. Like, look at this person, Native American soul, in Bangladesh, joined in Bangladesh, scout based in Bangladesh. So it's quite insane because there's people literally saying they're Americans and they're not even from America. Like they're in Bangladesh, and there's people literally saying they're from Ireland and they're in Ireland, and they're literally based in some other country. Like, funny enough, there's other accounts literally saying they're from Ireland. They're not even in Ireland. It's crazy, but it's true. So it's a good change in Twitter for once. But yeah, it's anything else. We probably would leave it there pretty much for tonight if there's nothing else for anybody. Anything anybody want to discuss or anything? Because pretty much I've said all I wanted to say tonight. Yeah, like the account is made in Austria and based in the United States now, so it's weird, but but there's other worse accounts. Like there's people literally claiming to be from the United Kingdom and they're based in Afghanistan, not Afghanistan, but in other countries. But just that's only the first thing I've seen there. But there's literally people claiming to be from America and they're based in India. Like in India. Fake accounts, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. But I've seen many times people saying they're from America and they're based in India, take example. Even in Ireland, I've seen people saying they're Irish, and then all of a sudden now they have accounts in Nigeria and stuff like that. They're in Nigeria, Do it like Corey. No, I never actually had Corey. No, never had Corey. But yeah, it's crazy. But it's a good change, I suppose. You can't see it unless you're verified, but on Twitter, which there should be for everybody. Everybody should be able to see it. But see, the problem with my account is that eventually you see that my account is based in Finland. So, it's dangerous stuff. It's kind of shooting myself in the foot because they will kind of see, oh no, this is actually a Finnish infiltrated account. It's one of them pro San Marin accounts, like imagine that'd be funny. Just all of a sudden you see just based in Finland. Or made in Finland too. it'll suit the narrative because some people are actually generally saying that I'm actually in the pocket of Santa Mountain. Like actually, some people have generally said that. Like somebody actually made the accusation too that Santa Mountain paid for me to go over to Finland, which is insane. Like why would I ask Santa Mountain to pay me to go to Finland? Is that not why you have a job? You know, that's what you do. But yeah. So yeah, funny stuff. They're all jealous, as I say. Just just throw it out there. Is there anything else just before I go? I don't think there's. Give me a moment. Sorry. Where am I? Sorry. I was just looked up a visual and it's. Oh yeah, well that clip of Santa Mountain's gone viral. It goes with a piece of the way out of a conflict. The way out of a conflict is worth leaving here. That's the way out of the conflict. Yeah, that's gone viral at the moment across Twitter. The way out of the conflict. When like what was this about about Griffiths? We just met him on the street. Um, like I only eat pepperoni pizza. If you're just going to ask me, Gordon, yeah, you're asking Sean, but just saying that. Like I don't eat that many foods. To be honest, like I don't really like the only like pizza is foreign food. It's Italian, but I would never eat like curry and stuff like that. Like curry or like even spice bags. I never actually had a spice bag. So I just don't like it. It wouldn't be my thing. Like I know so many people have online. Oh, online, right? Yeah, you never know online, but at least you know for a fact I'm here in Cap now. Um, like because I'm very open. Like there's a lot of YouTubers that wouldn't tell you where they are. Like even a lot of Irish YouTubers, etc. Like even people that are supposed like in our circle, I suppose some people would call it. Uh, we don't really know. What part of the country they live in. I don't mean to know. We don't know where they live, etc. But we don't know what county they're from, etc. Like a lot of people are scared of being doxxed, and not even that, just people find them, I suppose, in a way. Like I'm pretty open. Like it's not no secret how you can find me, I suppose. Um, Aliens, I come from a land down under. The way out of the conflict. The way out of the conflict is forced to leave Ukraine. That's the way out of the conflict. The way out of the conflict. I don't know. I think maybe Tipperary, somewhere around there. I say. I wouldn't say Cork or somewhere like, but it's either Tipperary or Kildare or somewhere like that. Around there or somewhere. I'm not sure. No, I was knew Gordon was going to say that, but anyway. But yeah, I don't know. But it's very you know where I'm from. I know. Like some people are just afraid. Well, I wouldn't blame them because being doxxed and stuff. I don't blame them. Like it's the same with online. You see so many people with anonymous accounts, etc. Even though some people say the most fire shit imaginable to people, like I see on Twitter myself. Like even though you disagree with somebody, like people are just fucking extremely mean to people, like really mean. Like even I've seen people just give their opinions, like their five cents on a topic, and literally people fucking like disavow their mother, etc., etc. Like some people are just absolutely just brutal. Like they don't have to be so brutal. I know there's no law against it, but people are just too mean to people in some cases. You know, maybe I'm just too nice to people, but I don't agree with it, but Yeah, it's a long way from Cavan to Tipperary. About depend. Tipperary is a big enough county. It'd probably be 4 hours, give or take. I think it's 4 hours. Yeah, it would be that. So I'd say 4 hours, unless you went to Dublin, then went to Tipperary. Maybe, yeah, yeah, it'd be about 4 hours because there's no train around to connect in Cavan to Tipperary. There's no trains in Cavan. Yeah, 4 or 5 hours. I'd say you could get to Tipperary from here, depending. Obviously, this time of year, I wouldn't go anywhere on the roads because they're literally digging up every road in the fucking country. Yeah, like the United States is a whole big country. Few beers, just no bother. um, no bother at all. We probably only here for another few minutes anyway. We won't be here that long. But if we're gone before you come back, have a good weekend anyway. We'll be here for another probably 30 minutes anyway. But so yeah, this painting actually the wall. Uh, so and we're we informed that the painter was hopefully coming within the next 2 weeks. It said this Wednesday, but I'm reliable being informed that it will happen this week. And if not, then it's going to be hell kicked up. Well, not this week, but within the next 2 weeks. So if he doesn't come, it's going to be. If he doesn't come, it's going to be hell to pay. Because, like, quite literally, I want it done. Also, you may have noticed. Let me show you. Sorry. Where am I? Sorry, I'm just trying to find myself. Yeah, where am I? Sorry. See, I get confused sometimes where I am. Not not in general, but yeah. So there we go. It's Anna Marin's #1 supporter. So people overwhelmingly voted in the community post. So yeah, that's the official title now. I'm going to change it probably on Twitter too. So I'm going to put that on my CV too. If I had a CV, that's what's going on it. So just to say. So instead of anything else, that's what's going on it. So I'm a good while on YouTube now, 2016 too. But I did have an account before that too. We are #1. We are #1. Yeah, but yeah, people voted. The democracy spoke. Yeah, I'd be squinting at the I'd be giving out fuck to the pato if he doesn't come. Oh, it's just a coincidence by you, Joseph. Oh, coincidence. Yeah, exactly. It's all just a coincidence. But no, generally, some people take them in the pocket of Santa. Like if it wasn't before, they generally take that now. So, oop, give me a moment. Always when I'm live, like never when I'm sitting here doing nothing. Sorry about that. New James Bond film. Yes, the new James Bond film. But yeah. No, give me 2 seconds. I just had the one downstairs. Well, here I go anyway. Leave you to it. So take you on.